Hello and welcome back, everyone. Today we are going to be leaving our narrative feedback on the narrative feedback form in Victoria 3. The devs are looking for feedback in this regard. As we have said with each of these feedback forms, something that is important to note is that when you get a lot of different perspectives together, it's actually really valuable. And generally, the group deciding or thinking through things together is really a good way of coming to the correct conclusion and things, just as a general heuristic. And so often what you want to do is you want to get a bunch of different ideas. However, if one person goes first and says their idea, this influences the other people's ideas and makes them less valuable. So as a good practice, like let's say in a meeting, is to write down your perspective first before you actually have a discussion on it. That way your initial sort of perspective won't be influenced by other people's perspectives. With that said, if you are going to leave feedback, leave it before watching this video, or if you wanted to leave feedback and do it instead of watching this video, because your feedback will be more valuable if you have done it before, kind of watching the video, as it will be untainted / influenced by my perspective to the extent that it might be. So with that said, we were planning on not doing this one because we discussed this topic with Tarkus on the podcast last week, but a viewer asked for it, and so here we're going to be doing it. We actually completed it a little bit of the way, and then we were just super tired when doing the video, so the energy was really low, and then we were just like, okay, we're going to scrap it. But now we're going to finish it up. So some of these will already be filled out, and we will go through it. How many hours have you played of 36, or of Victoria 3? We did our good old over 36 joke, which never gets old to me. We've made that joke over 36 times, and of course we have around 3,500 hours. How much do you like the current overall implementation of narrative content in Victoria 3? We scored it a 3. I think that Victoria 3 in general is not really a game we play for the narrative. It's a game we play for the overlapping systems. I really like taking a game that has complex and in-depth systems, but more specifically systems with depth, and unpacking them and discovering them and like this type of thing. And this is what I really love about Victoria 3, is that there's a lot of weird emergent things that happen as a result of the interlocking systems, and everything affects everything else. And it's specifically that act of discovery that is interesting to me for Victoria 3, but there's really not too many pegs upon which you can hang a narrative structure on Victoria 3. You have agitators to some extent, you have journal entries, but overall I feel that they're just generally speaking lackluster, and a sort of long-standing narrative would be good for Victoria 3, something like a Great War mechanic where you're building up towards it. And so let's kind of get through. What type of narrative content would you like to see in future updates? More dynamic agitators. Also agitators in more places. We would see agitators heading companies. I think agitators duking it out for control of an IG would be an interesting factor. I think that having multiple agitators multiple politicians per IG duking it out, and having those competing with each other for popularity, and that share of popularity giving them, a share of control. I think this would be interesting. Means by which we can track the development of our pops over time in the UI. Victoria 3 is a game about pops, right? And so, to the extent that we can track like literacy over time, or SOL over time, I think that there aren't really good UI ways of tracking this, as well as some way of the game relaying this information to you. Like, for example, you instituted public schools. Since you did that, literacy is up by X%. I think that having a sort of place in which you could get this type of feedback from the UI would be one that would help to establish a sort of narrative for the game within the constraint of what the game is kind of about, which is the game is really about pops more than the agitators. It's not about this like great person type of view of history in terms of its game design or the philosophy informing its game design, but you could still do better in terms of trying to relay the information that is more narrative in structure, or tracking progress with the aspects of the game that are more emergent from pops. Are there any historical events or scenarios that you feel are missing and should be incorporated? World War I Great War mechanic looming over the colonial world as the unexploited mass of world receives, or as the unexploited mass of the world recedes, so as everyone gets colonized, and conflict between the various colonial powers becomes inevitable. Would also like to see competition between nations in sports, literature, music, etc., as there are more and there be more metrics for tracking success in Vic3. Right now, it's only GDP and SOL, and if you have good taste, it's only GDP. And so I think that I would love to have other metrics of tracking success, such that the game becomes a little bit more vibrant and textured, and that would make it so that being like, and for there to be trade-offs too, like where you don't just like grow everything by growing your GDP. Sometimes maybe you need to sink your GDP. Like maybe leaning into culture makes your populace into like if there's a culture mechanic, maybe leaning into being musically oriented makes it so your pops are less likely to invest their money in in terms of capital and more likely to spend it on the arts. Which what this means is maybe this hurts your investment pool contribution, and then increases their art consumption. Something like this would make it so that there's a legitimate trade-off rather than just like, oh, you grow your economy as big as possible and you get as much art as possible by growing your economy. Something like this would be interesting and would allow for variance in terms of the way different runs sort of feel, because I think that a lot of runs just feel the same. We're going to go up to next. We are going to say, yes, we would love to give feedback for journal entries. This is honestly one that I've not necessarily thought through too in depth. We're also using the old email that we had for getting disaster saves. This is a disaster piece. But let's continue on. How easy to keep track of the journal entries? It's easy. You can tab them in, or you can put them in the outliner. I think we had a comment. Easy to find information. No UI indicator when a new journal entry becomes available. I wish there was some like pop-ups and this type of stuff, or when an option becomes available. How clearly do journal entries communicate their objectives and requirements? Generally, it's pretty clear. However, there are some bugs. It's not a journal entry that comes to mind, but rather forming Greece from Byzantium, where you need a monarchy only shows up once you're already off it. This type of thing pops up in multiple places in multiple different ways. Sometimes I think that's the case with journal entries, but none come to mind specifically. Atmospheric Engine has been bugged since release, as far as I know. Shout out to Atmospheric Engine, where if you start off with your PM's already on it, the event can bug out, and you're supposed to, as a matter of practice, switch everything off of Atmospheric Engine Pump and then back onto it afterwards. There's something like this. I forget the fiddliness, but that journal entry has been bugged for forever. There's another that lets you pick between plus 50 popularity and changing to IG traits. This is the part of the chain that eventually leads to New Colossus. There is one of these events. It's bugged because it changes a leader that's different than what the UI shows. So you think you're changing the armed forces leader to a reformer, but then you change the industrialist to a reformer, and you cry because you had an industrialist with a better ideology. And so this is a bit of a thing. So some of them are buggy, but other than them being buggy, they're kind of clear. To what extent do journal entries influence your overall strategy? Corn laws is ubiquitous. Corn laws is ubiquitous. I'm glad I'm consistent on that one. Some interesting leader IG manipulations as well. You can, we haven't really gone too deep in the tank here, but you can do a lot of different things to, get a nihilist or a communist, and there's different ways of chaining multiple journal entries together, that some of the people who, are more, let's say, deep in the theory crafting of interesting type of runs have kind of explored, but you can use journal entries specifically to force certain ideologies if you want to try and do something a little bit interesting. Do you feel like journal entries, completing journal entries are satisfying and proportionate to the effort required? No. They don't really give that good a reward, generally speaking, and it just kind of feels like a little bit of playing normally and then sidestepping to detour to one thing a little bit early. Can you recall any particularly rewarding or underwhelming journal entries? Corn laws is insanely strong. Not saying that we don't like it, but it lets you completely overcome traditionalism. Not that I necessarily hate it. It does make a lot of things. Corn laws is a rough one. Because I like a lot of, it makes a lot of things more playable and allows you to get a more liberal economy very quickly. This isn't realistic though. The way in which corn laws lets everyone go laissez-faire is just like it's not realistic at all. But from a gameplay perspective, I kind of think that it's probably a good thing. So this is a weird type of trade-off. It's bad for simulation, good for gameplay. I think that a lot of people like to play on countries that should stay traditionalism for longer, and traditionalism is just very painful to be on and really slows you down. New Colossus is also pretty strong. I'm not sure if this is the name of the event or the one. It gives you 25% migration attraction, but okay. Permanent bonuses in tech is generally strong, so a bonus to tech. Prestige rewards are kind of not compelling. Yep. Select the option which reflects your best experience of limited time journal entries. You treat them as any other journal entry. Generally, if something's worth doing, we almost never run out of time on it. And that I can recall. I'm probably forgetting something, but I don't feel like we're ever really rushed for time, so it's just kind of a regular journal entry. Generally don't feel too pressured. How would you rate the variety of journal entries? Honestly, it just feels like the same kind of ones over and over in terms of if they're worth focusing on. They all seem a lot after 3,500 hours. Yeah, so this isn't necessarily an indication that there's something wrong with the game, right? It's that after 3,500 hours, the type of game design philosophy you should have and content you should have should not be tailored towards me, or rather the 3,500 hour player. Generally speaking, I would rather they tailor stuff towards newer players that maybe have a bit of a different opinion on this. Do you prefer nation-specific journal entries or journal entries available to all nations? Nation-specific because being able to differentiate between one run from another because there is a substantive journal entry is one of the ways in which the game is a little bit interesting, forcing, me to rethink the way things are done as a result of some bonus or malice. I would like different countries to feel different, yeah. What would you say is your favorite journal entry? Corn laws is certainly the one I abuse the most. Why is it your least favorite journal? Makes some runs less painful. Wouldn't necessarily miss it either, though. So, kind of mixed feelings. And here we are at the point where when recording the video before, I was like, you know what? It's like, I forget, it was like 2 or 3 a.m. or something. I was like, I'm not here with it. But it's earlier today. Do you have any current pain points when handling journal entries that were not mentioned above? Not really. Other thoughts and concerns? Not really any. Oh, wait, maybe we got a little bit further. We did get a little bit further here. So let's continue on and talk about decisions. How impactful do the decisions presented in-game feel? What do decisions even refer to? Is this events? Or is this... I'm not even sure exactly what this is referring to. Is this is events or there's the journal entry thing and then the thing that you can actually tabulate. So I'm actually not 100% sure what this is referring to. Banned goods, the Treaty of Turin... Expeditions are freaking useless. Unique buildings. Okay, so survey, is it really just survey and exhibition and building the unique buildings and like this type of stuff? Oh man, this is almost like not even a thing in the game. Opium ban, Treaty of Turin, investing in Hawaii, like reclaiming the lowlands. There's not that many decisions, but it can be found in the journal window. So it's like it's the click a button thing. I think nation formation is also part of this. How impactful do the decisions presented in game feel? Not very. They almost feel like a UI thing than like an actual decision. I mean, a lot of the surveys are like, it's basically just the canals and the skyscraper surveys, which are just a precursor to building it that don't really add anything. And so we're gonna put it pretty low. Honestly, it feels like the surveys are the big one. but they just feel like building it with extra steps. It's just like you invest in diplomacy for an extended period of time. Incidentally, like one of the biggest or one of the more powerful exploits is making it so you don't have to pay for anything in terms of administration by creating an overflow situation. Shout out to the person in the ambulance. Hope they make it. And so making it so that you don't have to pay admin by making it so you are earning more than the survey, and then you start the survey, and then you turn down the PMs on your government administration, so you're making less. And so since it's negative, it makes it so you can't run a deficit. Even if you have demands of like 50,000 government administration. But other than that, the surveys that, or the ones that are important are the surveys. The like lowlands one, there's like a couple of decisions for specific countries that are impactful, but like honestly it just like it feels like it's not even a thing in the game. So how do you feel like decisions align with the historical context of the game? How do you feel about the following statement? The outcomes of decisions in Victoria 3 are clear and displayed logically. Well, that's true. They are clear and displayed logically, except when they're not. I'm not sure if the partitioning of Belgium at the start of the game, if that's a decision or an event. I think it's an event. We're gonna click strongly agree. What's your reasoning for above? I don't know if it's all of the above or just one of the above. But in terms of a historical context, like, it doesn't feel like there's economic pressures or proper rewards for the canals. And then all the exploration events, all exploration just give prestige and can bug out your commanders. Have you encountered any outcomes that seem particularly unexpected or unfair? Yes. The exploration ones, it might be fixed, but the explorations banishing the commander to the Shadow Realm, or pulling him off of like an important army battle. I think you have to be at peace to do those, though, so let's not put that. Do you prefer nation-specific ones or decisions available to all nations? Nation-specific ones that at least make stuff interesting. What's your reasoning above? I like different runs to feel different. I like to feel like I have to make different decisions based on different contexts to make strategic decisions that evolve dynamically based on who I'm playing. Do you have any pain points when handling decisions not mentioned above? I mean, like, the decisions just honestly, like, almost feel like something that's just absent from the game. I don't have a specific pain point, because we discussed the guys just getting banished. I wish there was a pop-up when... I often forget to do the skyscraper survey, and that's really good to do. But I don't think that's necessarily this feedback. That's just a skill issue, huh? Yeah, the truth hurts. Other thoughts, comments regarding decisions. They almost feel like not a factor in the game. And it's easy overlook that you might even have nation-specific ones. It feels like it feels like surveys. Like, it's mostly the surveys. And that is just, admin sync / delay for building that isn't interesting in gameplay or in terms of adding narrative. Just generally speaking, the fact that I had to look up the decisions and see exactly what it was being referred to when I have like 3,500 hours is maybe an indication that, you know, there's some stuff going on here. I mean, we could look at specifically what they are. There's some country ones specifically, like... Yeah, I mean, I just, like, honestly, decisions just feel like not really a thing. And it doesn't, like... it would be interesting if, like, we had to do certain things politically in order to create, like, the political will, or culturally to create the will to, like, do the Panama Survey and, like, invest the nation's resources in the canal. But instead it's just like, nope, you'll just have 1 year where you're spending a ton of administration. And you can't throttle it, you can't make decisions through it. It, like... Yeah, it just, like, it feels like a nothing burger from a gameplay and flavor perspective, just generally speaking. We want to leave feedback regarding events? Yeah, of course. How do you feel about the following statement? Events in Victoria 3 happen at an appropriate frequency. I feel like a lot of events just feel like law pass ticks more than anything else. I guess I'd like slightly more frequent. Let's just double check exactly what they mean by events, because I think I know what we mean, but after decisions. Yeah. Generic events, dye works accident, okay, Great Molasses Flood. I could get a dye works accident every single month and I'd be happy with that. Booming oil industry, moving picture, roaring engines, addictions, urbanization, discrimination. Yeah, okay, I think we could go with, like, slightly more, but, like, it kind of gets it. Marketplace of the world is good. And then there's the entire branch of stall events and advance events. Or, sorry, not events, is it advance? Debate. Stall and debate events. Okay. It's pretty okay with it. How engaging do you find in-game events? I'd guess slightly low, but the main reason is we've seen them all. Seen them all by now. I suppose to some extent them chaining together would be more of a narrative thing. So chaining events would be cool. How much do the events enhance your immersion? I think it's pretty low, but I kind of just click through them. This is a me thing. I'm more focused on the mechanics. And have also seen every event. I think. Actually, Every event that's not gated by bad laws. I'm pretty sure there's events we haven't seen too much. There's some events that actually don't make sense. Where it's like, there was one event, I think it's the bank run event, where you could choose minus 2,500 or minus 2,500 plus an extra penalty. It's like, why is this even an event? And then, like, if you have secret police, you actually, like, get an additional option and, like, this type of thing. And so, there is that, type of thing. You know what, though? I would like those events that are, when options are gated behind something, I'd like them to still be visual. I'd like options that are locked behind laws to be visible, though. I think. That way, I understand both mechanics better, but also how my governance influences my options. Narrative. How would you rate the variety of topics covered by events? Seems pretty high variety. I mean, it seems various. Would like to see more cultural stuff. Thinking of Morgan wrote mod here. How often do you find specific event outcomes to be the only choice you pick for the event, regardless of playstyle? Almost every event. The 5% free authority. The 5% free authority. No, they actually nerfed that. It used to be 5% authority forever, and then I think they nerfed it. But it was just categorically the best choice, like, unambiguously, and so, like, you would never not do it. There was another one that they fixed, somewhat recently that I used to complain about a lot, because the other options were just, like, completely not a factor. But they fixed that, I think, in 1.7. I'm struggling to remember the event. It's just, like... Most things just, like, from a power level perspective, it's the same option every time. There's not one that's really striking. I think the 5% authority was fixed. Notably, the 2,500, the one where you have to, the bank run, getting minus 2,500 balance, just run kills, small run starts. Do you prefer country-specific events or events that are available to any option? This one I'm a little bit no opinion on. I think that the state of a country should influence it to be more predisposed to events. Are there events that stood out as particularly memorable? What made them noteworthy? Man, if we can't answer this question, I guess it's self-answering, right? Are there specific events? I mean, I like the Die Works one. I'd die for it, to be honest. Make a trigger every month. Yeah. That's the stuff. Rate the UX of events. The UX is great. Don't have a problem with the UX. Do you have any current pain points when having the events mentioned above? I think it's still in the game. Unambiguously. The event that goes minus 2,500 income is the most annoying. It's irrelevant. I'm pretty sure this is still in game. I'm not 100% sure. It's irrelevant when you're big. But actually just full run kills. Small starts sometimes. Like, why is a run on the bank causing a negative balance that's, like, equal to, like, my entire balance in my country? Other thoughts, comments, concerns regarding events? None that come to mind specifically. We could think through a little bit, but the difficulty is when you're making a video and you're trying to think through stuff, you're supposed to also be talking the entire time, so you don't actually have time to, like, reflect on this type of stuff. But I would like events that are dynamically informed by culture. If there were a cultural mechanic, and then what's another good example of culture? I don't know, fervor, entrepreneurship. I'm a really bad speller, and sometimes I just give up and then, like, be like, where can you autocorrect it? No. If there was a cultural mechanic that informed probabilities of events, or gated events, such that the flavor felt more informed by it's already informed by laws. Is informed, yeah, that would be cool. I get that laws already do this. But that would add more flavor. Or, as everyone should spell flavor, you know, we use English spelling. We use English spelling, we use American spelling for how we spell our English words. And by we, I mean me. Not necessarily you. But there's two words that I like to add the unnecessary U on, and that is flavor and glamour. We add the extra U's. And Google doesn't like it because I'm using Americanized spelling for everything else. So, thank you for your time and effort filling out this form. Yeah, we're thrilled with the response to the previous Victoria 3 survey. Much looking forward to hearing your thoughts on Victoria 3 narrative content. Please hit the button below to submit. Okay, we'll do that. And then our response has been recorded. Big nice. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. You know, YouTube algorithm thing. Also, leave your feedback down below. That's a comment thing. We should make a forum. Rather than a comment, an open-ended comment, it should be a forum. How did you like this video? Okay, this is a tangent. We don't need to go on this. Have a good rest of your day. Happy Wednesday.